Module 6, Lesson 6, The Order of Operations. Learning target, I can evaluate numerical expressions. And I understand the order of operations. So the order of operations go parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction. And as you can see, I've written the first letter of every word in gray because an easy way to remember it is PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. This is the order when you see a numerical expression that you are going to solve it in. So let's talk about multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction first. So for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, you are going to evaluate from left to right. But multiplication and division come first. Because if we go back and we look at PEMDAS, M and D come before A and S. So when you are going from left to right, multiplication and division come first. Then you do addition and subtraction from left to right, because A and S are last in PEMDAS. Okay, so let's practice with examples that have addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So our first example is 4 plus 2 times 7. And so we know we have PEMDAS, and we're not using parentheses or exponents right now, so we can cross those off. So we're focusing on the MDAS. So we're going to look at our expression, and we're going to see that multiplication we do have. So we're going to do the multiplication first. So we are going to do 2 times 7. And 2 times 7 is 14. Now all that's left to do is add. So we are going to add 4 plus 14 for an answer of 18. Okay, let's do another example. We have 36 divided by 3 times 4. So multiplication and division do come first, and we just do an order from left to right. So we're going to start with 36 divided by 3 because that comes first when we go from left to right. And 36 divided by 3 is 12. And then we can do our last step, which is 12 times 4, which gives us an answer of 48. Our next example is 20 minus 5 times 2. And so we have a subtraction and a multiplication problem. And according to PEMDAS, we have to do the multiplication part first. So we're going to start with 5 times 2. And 5 times 2 is 10. And then we can subtract. So now we can subtract 20 from 10. So 20 minus 10 is 10. Now let's do some practice where we are now adding exponents. So we're going to be looking at expressions that have exponents, multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction. So we are not going to be using parentheses. We're not using this first letter of PEMDAS. We're only going to be focusing on the E, M, D, A, and S. So our first example is 90 minus 5 squared times 3. And so when we look at PEMDAS, we see that E comes first because we don't have any parentheses, so we're not using P. So E comes first, so we have to do the exponent first. And we learned about exponents in the previous lesson. So if you're not sure about how to solve exponents, then you need to go back and you need to review the video for Module 6, Lesson 5. So let's start with 5 squared. And 5 squared is 25. So now we have 90 minus 25 times 3. So now we have an expression that has subtraction and multiplication. We look at our order of operations. We see that next is m, so that means multiplication. So we're going to do 25 times 3. And 25 times 3 is 75. And now we have 90 minus 75, and that is our last step. So 90 minus 75 is equal to 15. Our next example is 4 cubed plus 2 times 8. So we see that we have an exponent. We see when we look at order of operations that exponent needs to be done first because we don't have any parentheses. So we're going to start by solving 4 cubed. And 4 cubed gives us 64. So now we have 64 plus 2 times 8. So now we're left with an expression that has addition and multiplication. We look at our order of operations. We see that m comes next. M stands for multiplication. So we're going to do 2 times 8 next. And 2 times 8 is 16. So now we have 64 plus 16. And this is the last part of our expression. So we're just simply going to add 64 and 16 to get an answer of 80. So now we're going to be looking at expressions that have parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction. So we're going to be using all of the order of operations. So I'm not crossing off any letters because we are going to be using the entire thing. So our example is 4 times 5 plus 2. And 5 plus 2 is in parentheses. And P comes first. So we're doing parentheses first. So whatever is in the parentheses we do. And that is 5 plus 2. And 5 plus 2 gives us 7. So now we are going to have 4 times 7. And when we multiply 4 and 7, we get 28. So our next example is 2 plus 9 squared minus 4. And 9 squared minus 4 is in parentheses. So we're going to do the things that are in parentheses first. And we see that we have an exponent. So we have to do this exponent first before we can subtract. So we are going to have 2 plus, and I'm putting the parentheses back in, 81 minus 4. And I'm putting the parentheses back in because we still have to do 81 minus 4. And 81 minus 4 gives us 77. So now we have 2 plus 77, and that's our last step. So 2 plus 77 gives us 79. All right, our next example is a long one, and it is 2 times, parentheses, 13 plus 5 minus 14 divided by, parentheses, plus 4, end parentheses, end parentheses. So we're starting with parentheses first because that comes first in PEMDAS, and we can see that within our parentheses, there is another parenthesis. Oh no! What are we going to do? Well, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to add 3 and 4 together, and we're going to get 7. So now we have 2 times, parentheses, 13 plus 5 minus 14 divided by 7 and parentheses. So now we're going to do everything else that is in the parentheses first. And we have addition, subtraction, and division within our parentheses. So we're going to start with 14 divided by 7. And 14 divided by 7 is 2. And I'm still keeping that parentheses there because we're not done solving everything that is in our parentheses. So now we just do from left to right with our addition and our subtraction. So we are going to do 13 plus 5 which is going to give us 18. We're still in parentheses because we're not done. And now we can do 18 minus 2 for 16. And then all that's left is to do 2 times 16, which is 32. Our next example is 7 plus parentheses 12 minus 3 squared end parentheses. So we have to do everything that comes in the parentheses first. And within that parentheses, we have an exponent. So we have to do the exponent first. So we're going to start with 3 squared. And 3 squared is 9. I'm still keeping that parentheses there because we are not done with that. And now we can do 12 minus 9. And 12 minus 9 is simply 3. And now we can do 7 plus 3 for an answer of 10. And our last example for this lesson is 7 plus parentheses 12 minus 3 end parentheses squared. So we have to do what comes in the parentheses first because that comes first. So we're going to do 12 minus 3. So we're going to have 7 plus 9 squared. And now we're going to do the exponents. We're going to do 9 squared. And 9 squared is 81. And then our last step is to do 7 plus 81, which gives us an answer of 88. Lesson summary. Numerical expression is a number, or it is any combination of sums, differences, products, or divisions of numbers that evaluates to a number. Value of a numerical expression is the number found by evaluating the expression. And lastly, we need to remember to use PEMDAS, and that stands for parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And for multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, we solve them going from left to right. Now, go complete the problem set.